Hi, my name is Lee Kottner. I'm going to be your instructor for MAT 135. This course is a 15-week course that is purely online. And as you can see here, I'm logged into our Canvas class. You won't see this purple thing at the bottom because I'm logged in as sort of like my fake student account. But anyway, I'm going to show you a little bit around the class and go over some things that you need to know about how to navigate the course and how the course is structured and so on. Even if you have already gotten familiar with Canvas, please watch this. It's not just a Canvas tutorial. It's really about how I set the class up and the assignments and what you'll come to expect from the course. Okay, so first of all, I guess let's go ahead and look at the landing page. Whenever you first come into Canvas, you'll make a choice to select our MAT 135 class, and when you do that, you'll come to this landing page. That's what I refer to it as the home page, landing page, something like that. And on this page, if you scroll down, you can see you can get everything pretty much that you need from this home page. If you get kind of turned around and lost navigating through the class, you can always come back to our landing page and pretty much find where you need to go. So if you have a question, there's this red button, Ask Questions here. It'll take you to a discussion board where you can post a question, and it goes to my email, and I will reply to you in a timely manner. Announcements are going to be things that I send out to you sometimes occasionally during the week, or if an assignment's due, it'll be a reminder sometimes, or if something comes up, I'll let you know. But you can click on the announcements and you'll see a history of all the announcements. I'm not going to go there because we don't have any announcements yet. Assignments. Let's take a look at assignments. I'm going to open this, right click and open it in a new tab, just so I can always jump right back here. And on the assignments, what you're going to see is a list of assignments that are automatically shown by date so that it shows them in a chronological order. And you can look at them like that, or you can also show by type. If you show by type, then what you'll see is that they're organized by category. So class introductions is in a category called sharing. I'm going to collapse that for a moment, but uh, these other ones are weighted, so you'll notice like we have these major projects. We have project 1, we have project 2, project 3, and project 4, which is rotating assignments that I change out, but I sort of already know what they are going to be. Probably I might change them later. But anyway, if I, for instance, say look under project 1, you'll notice over on the right side it says 35% of total. What that means is 35% of the total semester grade is what that is. And so all of these assignments here, they add up to be 100 points. You'll see that this is just, it says begin here, it's an overview. This doesn't have point assignment, but it helps you understand where we're going to start and where we're going to end up with a full project, because as you can see by the due dates, this project lasts, all the way from the beginning of February until the beginning of April. And so there are a lot of moving parts to it. And what I've done is I break them up into discrete mini assignments that are under the umbrella of one larger weighted project group so that you see how they're all related. But that also helps you stay on track. It helps you identify and break up specific sections of the project so that you can understand how you're getting from point A to, say, point Z. All right, and you'll see that these points, we've got the point assignments here, they add up to be 100. So of those 100 points, that would then be weighted at 35% of the semester grade. All right, and then this one, this first project is dealing with a bunch of foundational stuff. And the second one is a color study, and it's just one assignment within this group. And so you'll see that that's worth 100 points because it's just one assignment. And then we have another thing that's the graphic mark, like a logo type of thing, but it's an abstract mark, pattern and applied design. And we have some different assignments that will add up to be 100 points, also 35% of your entire semester grade. All right, and then the final one where I sort of reserve the right to change those later if, as I keep the pulse on the class to see how everybody's doing, I might change those assignments out to be something different. So you can look at them whenever you log into Canvas, but they could change, but those will be 10% of the semester grade. Okay, so let's jump back to the home page. Actually, I'm already here. So, And then there's a link over here, the index of lectures and demos. Here, I'll open that in a new tab. So just so you know, like I have a lot of these lectures and demos that are embedded within the weeks. So if you forget like which week and which assignment you would normally find these on, you could jump here to see what lecture you might have missed, or if you need to go back to refer to something, you can come here too. And then you'll notice that these are just like little quick links. Like if I were to click on that, it would jump down the page and take me to that lecture, and it'll give me a description of what that lecture is and so on. Okay, so go back to the home page. There's the syllabus. I'll get to that in a second. Grades. If I click on this, because this is a fake student account, it's not going to work, but this is where you would go to look at your grades. You're probably familiar with this already, but also pay attention whenever you look at your grades. There is a little place next to your grades that will show like a little comment bubble. If I leave a comment, that's really important because I do allow you to redo assignments in this class for a better grade. I believe that if you're willing to do the work and put the time in to improve your work and your portfolio and improve your educational process, then I'm going to help you do better, right? So I will reevaluate your grade so that you can improve it if the work is actually improved. Conferences, if I were to click on conferences, it should take me to, yeah, see, this is, don't worry about this. You shouldn't get this error. I'm getting this error because it's a fake student account. But this is where, if I set something up, if you don't get an email with a link to meet me, you might find your conference here. If we do a Zoom session, I'll just hit the back button. And if you need to use a Zoom conference tutorial, I've created a page for that. Zoom is the tool that we use for online tutorials, for online conferences, for video and screen sharing conferences. And if you don't know how to use it, you've never used it before, you can come here and use it. And it looks like we've got some missing photographs. I'll check that later. But anyway, this is a little video that would apply to everybody. Okay, so let's go back home again. And of course you can use some of these links over here, but yeah, I'm just going to show you from the point of reference of the home page. Also, if you scroll down on the right hand side, you'll see these weekly responsibilities. And the first thing that you should do is click on the class orientation. I'll do that in a new tab as well. And this is a checklist of all the things you need to do immediately once you get into Canvas at the beginning of the semester. And you need to, just go through this, make sure you've read everything, that you've done all the things that I tell you to do to get started, make sure you understand all this stuff, and like buying your textbooks and so on. It's not a whole lot of stuff, but it's stuff that I definitely want you to go through as a checklist. And then when you're finished, you can either go back to the home page or you can jump right into week 1. You can also hit this next module, and that'll take you to the first week, right? And so this is the way that I have my weeks set up right here, is that I have them by week 1, week 2, week 3. And you'll notice up here in the top right, it tells you what the current date for that week is, so that you know at any given point, whenever you click inside of a week, what timeline you're looking at. And I set these up so that they're all the same, where at first I say, what's due this week? And so I list things that have due dates, and I will tell you, like, if a week is divided up into several days where you really need to have things done, major things done by specific days within the week, I will break it up. By Tuesday night, do this. By Saturday night, do this, and so on. Then next thing is, I'll say this week's activities and benchmarks. All right, these things are not necessarily graded items. Sometimes they are, but sometimes it's also just saying, hey, this is what you should have done to keep up. If you don't, then you might fall behind. And this class moves really fast. It's a 15-week course, so it means that I've taken a 17 full-term course and compressed the information into 15 weeks. This class is already dense enough in 17 weeks. So just be aware that a 15-week course has a pretty intense accelerated timeline. So really you should definitely be paying attention to these things. If I say by Tuesday or by Wednesday or whatever, it means that I've really thought a lot about this to help you keep up. You should really try to take my cues and make sure you stay on target as much as possible. Anyway, So like here's all this required intro work that I tell you to do. Then you can begin the first project and I tell you how to get started with that. And then after that, I'll tell you, hey, these are the things you should be reading this week, so that you can assimilate, or not assimilate, but you can absorb that information and you can start to synthesize. That's the word I was looking for. Uh, you can start to synthesize what you're reading with what you're doing. In this book, I did not randomly choose this book. This is a good book, and most of the quote unquote reading is actually a lot of graphical information. It gives you a lot of visual examples of stuff. So please check it out. Don't just go, oh God, I don't want to read that. Please follow up with the reading. It is a good book. All right, and at the bottom, I'll usually put sort of like a compendium of resources that I referred to up here in this area, so that it's like, okay, these are the things that you probably are going to be needing this week, right? It's just like a really quick recap at the bottom. All right, and so that's week 1, for instance. If I go back to this home link, you'll see that this list of links, you could jump to any one during the semester. So if it's, February 25th and you say, okay, well, this is the week that we should be in, you click on it and you can go straight to that week and it shows you what's due, the benchmarks and activities, the readings and the resources that you need. And then if you get in there and say, oh, well, let me see what we're doing next week, you can jump over here to week 5 and so on. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Okay, before we get too carried away here, I'm going to jump back to the syllabus. So I could either just close this and go to the home page, or I could just click on syllabus over here. And if you ever need more space, by the way, on your Canvas screen, you can click this little hamburger menu and you can collapse that contextual menu right there and open it up. Okay, so I'm going to go to the syllabus from there. And if you take a look at the syllabus, you'll notice that up here I have a bunch of quick links because I've broken down the syllabus into these major sections. So you can always just jump to one if you're looking for something specific. But you'll also notice off to the right side that you've got, it shows you the weighted groupings sections for your assignments and what their grade points, grade weights are. So let's just scroll through. You are still responsible for reading all of this. So even if I even if I sort of skip over some things, you're still responsible for going back and reading it more thoroughly. All right, this semester is, spring of 2020. If for any reason I use this in the future for a different semester, you just need to know that the dates are things that would be different, right? And there's a possibility that maybe some of the assignments might be a little bit different. So, that's not a big deal. You can look at it and figure out whatever's currently in your Canvas, that's the actual stuff for the semester. But anyway, so these are the current dates. Yours might be different if you happen to be watching it later in a different semester. Online mode. This is an online only course. So the lectures are almost completely asynchronous. Lectures and demos. Asynchronous means that we are not required to be at the same place at the same time online. All right, so I'm not going to have video conferences where everybody has to attend all at the same time in a live space. I usually will record them and then you can come back later. The only thing that would be synchronous would be like if we have office hours, like a meeting. And by the way, office hours, just for reference, that doesn't mean like they're my office hours, don't bother me. What it means is that I am here for you, right? So if you need to, make an appointment to see me, you need to drop by at something outside of the normal boundary of the class, then I'm there to help you. All right. I do keep office hours outside of class. So even though this is an online class, I make my online ones only by appointment. I do not have drop-in online office hours. They're always by appointment. So if you need something, reach out and let me know, and I'm happy to help you. And I'll set up a time that's convenient for both of us. Because I also teach on ground, I have in-person office hours that you can come and see me Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. in my Oceanside office, which is room 4621. Okay, and Instructor Contact, I'll let you read that. Basically, tells you the time frame that I get back to you. I will say that I usually get back to people within 1 to 3 days. Sometimes if you haven't heard from me, let's say within 1 to 3 days, and that's not counting necessarily like weekends and holidays and stuff, then that might mean that I just missed your email or something. I get a ton of email and sometimes I overlook something. So please don't just sit around and wait forever for a response. If you haven't heard from me in a few days, please send me another email. There's a really good chance that it just something happened, where it slipped past me somehow. Okay, some important deadlines. Again, these dates will be different if this is a different semester, but the same principles will apply. You can look at these. The important thing that you need to pay attention to in my mind is this last day to switch to pass no pass. If you don't want to take this for an ABC grading standard and you want to instead take it as pass no pass, pass no pass will not hurt your GPA, and you can get a passing mark and still get that to count towards a certificate or AA at Miracosta College for our degree. So the caveat to that, there are two actually. One is if you know for a fact that you're transferring to a four-year institution or you really think you might want to, and you know the institution, this may or may not work for you. You probably want to double check and make sure that that would actually give you credit, especially if it's for something that's going to articulate. But also some institutions now occasionally, there's some, well, not occasionally, it's pretty consistent when they do or don't, but there are some that will actually give a no pass the equivalent of a GPA F credit on your transcript. And so that would be a bad thing if that's not what you're expecting. So just double check and make sure before you switch to pass no pass, if you know you want to go to a four-year university and you need to have a good GPA, make sure that that's not going to hurt you if you decide to take it no pass and then you get too busy and you just stop attending. The other caveat is you need to make sure that a no pass is not going to hurt your financial aid if you have it. So that might be true if you got a bad grade, whether it was a D or an F, you might have to have like a C, for instance, to maintain your aid. Depends on what your aid is. Okay. So more information regarding administrative drops. This class requires participation. If you do not participate, and participation, by the way, is measured in turning in graded work. If you don't participate, then I have an obligation, not just a right or something, but I have an obligation to drop you. The college asks that we do that. And something that I never want you to ask me is to please not drop you due to financial aid status. That literally is something I cannot take into consideration. In fact, I am supposed to really not consider that at all. So please don't even ask if that's what you're concerned about specifically. If you have a feeling that you're not going to pass the class, you need to drop it, or you need to be prepared to take a no pass. So, but I will drop you. You're going to have to participate if you don't want to be dropped. Okay, already talked about pass, no pass, but you can reread that again. The course description, I'm not going to read the entire course description. I'm just going to sort of summarize it. We're going to be learning the foundation of graphic designs, talking about form, color palette, texture, text, image relationships, typography, grid structures, layout design. And the primary tools that we'll use are going to be Adobe Illustrator and a little bit maybe of Photoshop. And the student learning outcomes that are really important to this are these three. So arrange and compose design concepts into effective illustrative solutions. And another thing you'll be able to do by the end of the course is compare and evaluate design solutions for visual and communication effectiveness. And lastly, you'll be able to conceptualize and formulate abstract ideas into concrete graphic design solutions. Okay, and these are some other things that you can take a look at so that you'll have an understanding of things that you'll be able to do, recognize, identify, etc. Okay, technical help or advice, there's a link for the help desk for students. If you're a student with a disability, please let me know what your accommodations are. If you don't know what I'm talking about or you're not sure what they are, you can go see somebody at Disabled Students Programs and Services to get a list of accommodations that they would provide to me as the instructor. Okay, happy to help you. Just please let me know as early as possible so that I can help you for as long as possible. And these are other really important links. I strongly advise you to check them out. For instance, like one of the things that a lot of students don't know through health services is that if you need some psychological counseling during the semester, for any reason, you have up to, I think, 6 free sessions. So you can check that out. Anyway, you do have a required textbook that you have to purchase. It's been around a little bit now, so you can get a used copy of it. It's a good book, and I didn't choose it lightly. Like I try to usually get books that don't cost you guys anything. This is one of the books that I actually feel is good enough that I wanted you to pay for it. So anyway, that one. And then there's another optional suggested reading. This one happens to be free. It's when we start getting into the mark making assignment, and it's about logos and marks. Okay. And the software that you need, right? So you need a computer, obviously, have access to one to do this class online. And if you have your own computer, you definitely need to buy the Adobe Creative Cloud. And I put a special note down here. One of the things that our discount vendor has started doing is requiring that, actually it's not the discount vendor, it's Adobe and the way that they negotiated the contract with our discount vendor. And they started requiring students to have a .edu address in order to get the discount. Well, I guess people got upset enough after a few months of that. And so Adobe made an exception and they added an additional $5 per 6 months if you don't have an EDU address. So you can still do it if you don't have the EDU address through a different institution. But what you'll need to do is go to this link and then at the bottom it'll say, hey, do you not have an EDU address? And then it's gonna take you here. So you might need to do this if you can't find it through some other means through this top link up here, okay? All right, so, and you do need the full subscription. You can't just get away with like Photoshop because Illustrator only comes with the full subscription. And then you do also do all of this other stuff, right? I want you to read through all these other things that you're gonna need. Okay, completion of work. I do accept stuff late. I will, but it has to be complete. I do accept things late. And, I will give you point grade assignments, not just letter grade assignments. So the one thing I don't accept late is the final project because I have to get my grades in. And the more behind you get in this class, the more pain it's gonna feel like every time you have to do an assignment. So anyway, we talked about that. Let's just keep going. I want to have you read all this other stuff. Down to grading. Let me talk about our grading breakdown a little bit. I'll go over this one more time. I mentioned it before, but I'll refer to it again. So the project one, like this link right here, if you were to click it, it would take you to an overview page that walks you through the beginning to the end so that you get an idea, an overview of what it is, right? But these are the sub-assignments that are under the umbrella of project one. Each one is going to be a certain point value, but you will see the grade whenever you get it in a percentage. So it would be a percentage of these points, but all of that would add up to then be taken into account so that the whole group is weighted at 35% based on these individual point values. So the each of these will have their own assignment page. So for instance, if I click on this one, it'll take me to the assignment page and you'll see that it's got a due date, tell you, what the grading assessment is, and it gives you an overview, point breakdown, gives you the steps, for instance, and I give you tutorials, and I'll put them in embedded and contextualized within the assignment if they're tutorials that you need. And so you can see there's a few. And then I talk about the grading, and then this is the same page where you would submit your final work, okay? Another example would be, let's just say, the color study, for instance. All right, so if I go to the color study, there's a lecture that's involved, and it's really important that you watch it, for instance. And then there's a tutorial. So there's a template file I provide, and so on and so on. Okay, and then there's some former student examples so that you can get some ideas. And I'll usually put examples of things if there are some, and there usually are, right? So that you can get some idea. Like for instance, if we look at this one, you can get some idea of what other students have done, right? And so it kind of gives you an idea of where you're going to end up going, right? And then I also give different lessons and so on. Right, so you can see that each assignment has a complete set of information to help you get through it. And that way it's broken down into stages and steps, and you're not looking at a giant assignment all at once. It's going to, span 2 months, okay? All right, so that's pretty much the concept of how I teach this class. And if you have any questions about any of this stuff, just let me know. I can be reached. Let's click this home button. I can be reached either by contacting me directly through this email, or if you call this phone number, I can tell you right now, I don't think I've ever answered that phone live in my office, maybe once, but it will send me an email with your voice message if you do that, and I will get that for sure. So you're welcome to leave me a message there. The other way that you can get in touch with me is over here on this sidebar that's blue where it says inbox. You can click on the inbox and you can compose a message, and that will go into my Canvas, but it also sends me an email as well. Another thing that you can also do is you can check out your calendar. If I go to my calendar, now this isn't going to show me, yeah, okay, test student, sure it does. And it shows you this calendar with color-coded stuff, right? So if you want to be able to set your colors up so that you can see different things for different classes, like if you had a bunch of different classes here, then you would need to go into your dashboard, and you need to set the little cards up with different colors, and then that's how your calendar shows up in different colors. The other thing is that if you use an electronic calendar, like in your phone, either Google or Apple Calendar or something like that, you can click on this calendar feed and you can copy this link, and then you can add that to your calendar feed so that it pipes all of this stuff in to the calendar that you get like on your phone or on your computer. And then you'll see when your due dates are, which is great. Okay, so anyway, those are the things that I think that you really need to know to get started. And as a reminder, just to do that, to get started, you're going to come to our landing page, go ahead and walk through the class orientation, and then just get started with week 1. And let me know if you have any questions.